Hello everyone, I'm Robert Hisee. Most of you will know me, but for you that don't, I'm the UK's #1 unconscious mind therapist. And welcome to the MindKite Podcast. Hello everyone, I'm Robert Hisee, the UK's #1 unconscious mind therapist, and you're at the MindKite Podcast. And today's guest, we've got the legend, Eddie the Eagle Edwards.
The legend.
Here we go. The legend. The legend's here. So, you know, I met you last year, Ed, for the first time.
Yes, Excel, wasn't it?
Excel Centre, yeah. We had a bit of lunch and that.
That's right.
And obviously watched the film, and because I'm into the mind, and everyone knows me, I'm into big visualizations and how to reprogram your mind and how to create your future, that when I watched that film, I had to ring you. I think I must have watched it 5 times. And I thought, I've got to get in touch with this guy. I just wanted to sit and talk to you about your process. So I was lucky enough and fortunate enough for you to let me come and have a bit of lunch with you. And, you know, it was amazing. So as soon as we started doing this podcast, I knew I had to get back in touch with you. I wanted people to hear the story, you know, of the man behind it all.
Thank you very much.
So going from the beginning, I'd like to ask you a question what was your visualizations becoming an Olympian as a kid? What was your first ever thought of becoming an Olympian?
I think it was when I was about 8 or 9. I was watching, because that's the only time I saw a bit of sport on TV.
Yeah.
Of course, we used to watch World of Sports with Dickie Davis on a Saturday morning.
Dickie Davis.
But when the athletics came along and obviously we used to watch the Olympics on TV, I thought it was so cool to watch these athletes walking around with Great Britain on their tracksuit. I thought, wow, that is brilliant. And I thought, I want to have Great Britain on my tracksuit. But it wasn't until I started skiing, because I did loads of different sports. I did football, cricket, rugby, kung fu, karate, judo, tennis, squash, badminton. I did loads of different sports, loved it. But it wasn't until I started skiing here at Gloucester Ski Centre when I was 13 on a school ski trip. And I thought, wow, I love this sport. There was just something about it. And so it all started. So it started by watching TV, but then I found that sport that really clicked with me, and then I had a passion for.
And it's we're so lucky today to be here at Gloucester Ski Centre, because as you just said, you learnt to ski here as a kid. And I didn't know that till we got here this morning. You know, it's
But the
so
very
that's made it
first
even more
time I put on a
special
pair
for
of
today.
skis was here. Yeah.
That's unreal. So and so when you said you got onto the skis and you loved it straight away.
Yes.
How did you become obsessed with it? Because I know.
Ooh.
You was very obsessed by the...
I was. First of all, it was new, it was different. You know, you can actually move along without actually doing very much. You were just standing on a pair of skis and whoosh, and off you were going. And I started to learn to turn, doing these snowplow turns. We went to Italy, a place called Andalo, in the Italian Dolomites for our first ski trip, and I loved it. But I was no better than everybody else. I didn't have this you know, wonderful talent that as soon as I got on skis, whoosh, I could do it. I had to work at it. And I made lots of mistakes, fell over, got myself hurt and injured myself and things. But I just persevered. And when I came back from that ski trip, I came up here, and it started off at once a week, then twice a week, 3 times a week. And then within about a month, I was up here every night after school or weekend or school holidays. It was ski, ski, ski. And if I wasn't at school, I'd be over here at Ski Slope, and it became my home.
That's unbelievable. Yeah. So it's just pure passion, just every day.
Loved it, loved everything about it. I did all my physical training to ski, to get a better skier, and the better I got, the more I enjoyed it, the more I loved it. And when I started to learn different types of turns, I wanted to learn even more. The psychology of it, the physicality of it, the technique of it, everything. I just wanted to know everything about skiing.
And I know those stories, as I said, when I was a kid, Dad used to tell me stories like Eddie the Eagle. He used to go down the stairs on his skis and stuff like that. Like, I don't know how people knew that, but I remember being a kid thinking, wow.
Yeah. I used to go down on my front, you know, with my nose. My nose would rub against the stairs. So I did, but I was always I was always a bit of a daredevil.
Yeah, well, you said you used to jump from here into the car park back in the day when it was old, before it was like this.
That's right, because the slope had a lot more bumps, and I used to use those bumps as jumps. and then I started doing tricks, and then I started jumping over my friends, and then a few more
Jump over
friends.
my friends.
I jumped over 22 people in a row, and then I started jumping off the bottom into the car park. But even at home, I used to climb the trees and jump out. I used to climb up onto the roof and jump off the roof into the garden, just do silly things. But I was always, a bit of a daredevil, and that helped obviously with skiing as well, because because I was a bit of a daredevil, and skiing can be quite daring. You can go as fast as you like. It's up to you. You can do, jumps. It's up to you. Whatever you want to do.
And
so
how do you like the visualization process when you were skiing? Was there anything like that when you used to look down? Would you practice mentally while you was at home as well? So while you was on the slopes, would you ever sit there visualizing techniques you was going through or things you was going to do tomorrow, how it was going to go?
But I didn't realise.
Yes, that's what a lot of people say that to me.
I didn't realise that was a technique, a standard visualization technique.
Yeah.
But yes, when I was doing slalom, you had to go down and visualize. You had to memorize the course,
the path. Yeah.
What where you turn to the left, where you turn to the right, and you had to visualize yourself skiing through it and memorizing the course. And skiing down, I would memorize and visualize every type of turn, what type of turn I wanted to do, the jump, how I would feel hitting the jump, going through the air, see and feel everything that I would see and feel and land.
Amazing.
And I would visualize it. And that was good. That was just as good as actually being on the ski slope. I could do it at home in my bedroom.
You could feel the actual emotions. See, I think that's a very important thing you just said there, is that when a lot of people practice visualizations, and people talk about vision boards and stuff, and I say to them, if you look at a picture of a car, it don't mean you're going to get it. No. You've got to get in the car in your mind. You've got to feel that you're driving it. It's that old thing that we hear in The Secret time and time again, but people don't understand how nowadays we've got the reticular activating system. There's a science behind it that proves this is, emotional intelligence is, they say 350 times more powerful than academic intelligence. Yes. To learn to feel that you're something before you are.
Yes.
Like Muhammad Ali said, I'm the greatest before he was world champion. And you had this vision of being an Olympian, and not that you knew you was doing it, but you were having this pulling feeling, because I remember seeing you on, when the movie came out, the amazing movie of your life with, is it Taron Egerton, yeah. And he played you, and he's also played Elton John as well, fantastic actor.
Rocket Man.
Yeah, Rocket Man, that's it.
Yeah. Does that mean I look like Elton John? That's a bit scary.
Do you sing like him, Ed? Can you chuck a few tunes out?
Only in the bath.
Well, he done an amazing job in that movie, by the way.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how much he looked. And he looked like me, he acted and sounded like me. He did a wonderful job. He had the moustache, the jaw, the hair,
everything.
The glasses. Fantastic.
And when in that movie, as we watched it, you could just see your determination, that pulling feeling. And I was going to say, when you done that movie, you was on, I think it was Lorraine Kelly or something like that. And I remember watching you talk, and it wasn't in the movie, but you said you used to sleep in the van some nights at minus 20 degrees, and that weren't in the film. And I think that would have been, people didn't realise that your commitment, your determination, like try, fail, get again, you was just relentless.
Yeah, the film, I mean, they did a wonderful job with the film, and it's really, really well done, and a lot of it is true. But there was so much more that they could have put in the film. They just didn't have the time. They had to keep it down to a certain length. So all the other things, the jumping off the slopes, jumping over the people, they couldn't put in. Sleeping in a mental hospital, they couldn't put in. Sleeping in barns and cow sheds.
Where was that? The mental hospital?
In Finland. Scraping food out of bins in Switzerland, they couldn't put that in as well. So there was loads of things which they couldn't put in. But what they did use, they did really well, and they did it in such a way that it still came across the resilience, the tenacity, the never giving up, which was the most important
thing. You hear that, everyone? Anyone out there wants to make a movie? We need Eddie the Eagle 2. I want to see the behind the scenes footage. You know what I mean? That sounds amazing. You really did have to. You really went through it to get there.
Oh yeah.
And all that time when you was doing all this stuff, sleeping in mental homes, scraping the food off the side and stuff, you was always visualising that Olympic. You won't get. There was no.
Well, not so much, the Olympics, but also being a better ski jumper, because that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a really, really good ski jumper, and that was what I was thinking about, and hoping that I can get to the Olympic Games, and kept seeing those Olympic rings, and I thought, I want to get there.
And then you got there. I mean,
and I managed to get there. Yeah.
I remember watching it in 1987, I think it was, wasn't it? 88. So I was 11 years old, but I remember we were watching it, and like on the movie, we did that last one, you never jumped it before, and you'd done it on a day. I remember my dad going, to my mum, Jill, get in here, he's about to kill himself, live on telly. And I was sitting there with my dad watching, waiting for something, and I was all scared, thinking like, what are you making me watch this for? Dad, come and watch this. And you landed, and everyone couldn't believe it. It was absolutely amazing.
I'm sure most people watching me on TV were hoping I would make a complete cock of myself and fall over, break my neck, blood everywhere. But no, I managed to land on my feet and succeed.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And then we got the famous.
Yeah, that's right. But for me, just getting there was my gold medal. And the fact that I was still very much a beginner. I'd been jumping less than 2 years when I went to Calgary. Everybody else there had been jumping for 20, 25 years.
Mad.
So, of course, I was still very much a beginner, which is why they pretended it was my very first time off that 90 or the 120 metres, they call it now.
Okay.
Well, I'd only done about 5 jumps off that size hill, whereas all the others had done about 30,000 jumps. So 30,000 against 5.
Yeah, it's a big.
I was still very much a beginner.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
And that's why they emphasised that. It was my first time.
Now, when you're up at the top of that big one and you're looking down for the first time, I mean, how did that work in your head? What was you visualising in? What was you seeing? What was going through your mind, Ed? I mean, the fear. Because remember you said to me last time I met you, you said something along the lines that your body's saying no, but you're going, I've got to do it, but your body's going, don't. And it's like, you said it was like you're having 2 conversations with yourself.
You are, because you're sitting at the top of this jump. You're about 400 feet up from where you're going to be finishing. And you're sitting there and you can see and feel a million different reasons why you shouldn't really go down. But at the same time, I want to jump further than I've ever jumped before. And so there's that constant battle. I want to do it, but do I dare myself to do it? And you knowing that if you get any part of that sequence wrong at the takeoff, the consequences could be horrendous. So there was that constant battle. I want to do it, but I'm not sure. And you have to just fight it all the way. And every pore in my body was saying, don't do it. But I thought, no,
once you went,
I'm going to do it. And off I went. And I worked it out as I went down.
And how does it feel? We talk about the feeling of it. How does it actually feel when you visualise feeling, when you're actually in the air?
Amazing. When you get it right, it is the most amazing feeling because you're floating. It's like those guys, you know, the winged, you know, when they're parachuting, they're floating along. It's very much like that, but your skis are your parachute.
Yeah, you can feel
and
the
you
wind
can feel the
underneath
pressure
your feet.
underneath your skis. And when you're lying right out over your skis, you're looking between your skis and you can see 200 feet right down at the bottom where you're going to be landing. And you're just lying there and you're just floating. And went, oh my God, this is incredible. And you just float and float and float and then lift your head, boom, and you land. And people think that the landing is really, really hard, but most of the time it isn't. Really? It's no worse than jumping off this chair. You're jumping 120 metres, but sometimes I had to look down to see whether I'd landed because I hadn't felt it. But that's the way they're designed. So that very often it's not that crashing.
It's like
it's very nice and gentle, boom, and land.
Bend in the ski,
yeah, it's incredible. It's easier now because you don't fly so high off the ground. So you fly much closer, whereas before, when I used to jump 30 years ago, we used to fly quite high. Now they fly quite low, so it's even easier. Technically, it's more difficult, but psychologically, it's easier.
So, what sort of affirmation would you say? Was there a lot of self-talk with you, or was it more visualisation?
I used to do lots of things. Obviously, visualisation, but it was unless I'd done a good jump, and then I would think, "Wow, that was incredible," and I would try and remember everything I did to recreate that. And I used to just watch. I used to watch Matty all the time, Matty Newcomb, and he won the gold medal. Whatever I was doing, I would stop and then I would watch him go down, take off, and I think, how does he do it? How does he fly like that? And I used to watch all the other jumpers, and then I would get whatever tidbits I could get. A lot, because I was on my own, a lot of the teams used to let me train with them. So if they saw me going around running on my own, they'd say, oh, come and join us. And I would go running with them. I'd practice with them. They all had different techniques of training, so I would use these different techniques. And they used to sort of take me under their wing, and they used to give me equipment as well and things like that. Oh, you know, those skis are so old, have these
and
newer
was that
skis.
True with the bird and the thing where you slipped downstairs? Did that really happen?
Yeah, it did. Well, but she didn't own the bar. She worked in the bar.
And did she put it on you like in the movie? Was she banging it on you, or is that?
Kind of. Not as blatant.
As that.
Not as blatant as that. I slept in basements of hotels. I slept in basements of apartment blocks in my caravanette because it was just that little bit warmer. I just used whatever I could find really. If I had nowhere to sleep, I would sleep on a park bench.
How many years we're talking? Was you out there doing that before you got?
It was both for my skiing, when I was training for '84 for the Sarajevo Olympics as a downhill racer, and then again, obviously, from '84 to '88 when I was jumping, because I jumped in '86. I started jumping in '86, so it was for 2 years for that, and then a year after the Olympics, and then I did it again in '95 to '98 for the '98 Olympics. But I didn't mind. I was prepared to do anything so that I could stay out there and do my skiing and my ski jumping. And if that meant sleeping in a mental hospital, if that meant scraping food out of bins, if that meant sleeping on a park bench, I would do it because I wanted to ski or ski jump, and that was more important to me.
And I hear this saying quite a lot in America with a lot of life coaches out there. Successful people do what other people don't want to do. That's what makes them successful.
Yes.
But once you get through that hardship, once you've done it, you've got a lifetime of of a champion.
And it keeps you humble as well. I know the value of things. I know the value of money because I had no money, and I wouldn't ask somebody to do something that I'm not prepared to do myself. So I'm quite happy to. If I lost everything and became a cleaner, I'd want to be the best cleaner in the world, and I would do everything to the best of my ability. But that's what it kind of teaches you. It teaches you
to do something properly,
to do things, to be resilient, to be to never give up, and
resilience,
and to make the best of any situation.
Resilient, that's for sure, Eddie. I'm just still in awe of that movie and your love story. It's amazing.
I've watched the film 96 times and I still love it. It still makes me cry.
So how does it feel now, like you've lived your dream? I mean, how does it feel after the Olympics? Like once you've, I know you've done skiing for many years. Like how does it feel now? Your kids are growing up, and when you look back now, what's it like when you look back? Is it like a lot of pride?
Yes.
Pride and a lot.
I am very proud
Yeah,
because
you should be.
I achieved things that people never thought I would ever achieve.
That's what I love.
Yeah, and despite everybody kept saying it can't be done.
But I love it with your dad. Is that true? You nicked him a van? Did you actually do that?
Well, it was my mum's car.
Oh, his mum's car. Okay.
Yeah.
You actually
not
done
my
it
dad's
though.
van. But they in the film they kind of put all the things onto my dad, when really it was sort of my mum and my dad really. But yeah, it was my mum's car I took. Well, I didn't actually take it. She gave me permission, but what I forgot to tell her or didn't tell her was, because I said, can I borrow the car? But I didn't say that I wanted to drive to Switzerland and be there for 6 months. So, yeah.
Didn't go down too well when you got there on the phone. Anyway, you got.
Where's my bloody car?
And you know what bit I think gets people's hearts, when you come back, because people weren't believing in you, but you just had this vision, you see it yourself, and that was it. No one could change the way you see yourself. And when you come back and mum and dad was at the choking beer at the end, how did that feel when you walked through and mum and dad were standing there and dad proud of you? That must have been like one of the best moments as well.
It was. That was nice because that represented everything. But mum and dad actually came out to watch me at the Olympic Games.
Oh, they did.
But they flew home the day before. I flew home, and I thought, well, it's not fair for my mum and dad to go home to Cheltenham and then go back to London to pick me up from the airport the next day. But then when I landed, I had all these policemen, and it was pandemonium in the airport. Like, there was like 10, 15,000 people.
Was you not? You had no idea of that, Ed? Was you probably shocked?
Yeah, they were shocked because they were out there with me. They didn't know what all this furore that was happening in the UK. But it was nice that they put that in because they were so proud of what happened, because they said, if you get to the Olympics, we want to come and watch you and stuff. And it was the news of the world, because they had no tickets to go and watch the ski jumping, but it was the news of the world, the newspaper, that managed to get the tickets for my mum and dad to watch, and they watched me jump and stuff. So
it's amazing. Great. I mean, with how would you think your life would have panned out if you never jumped or never got into skiing? I mean. Because these little things can change the whole dynamics of someone's life, isn't it? Not finding a passion for someone.
I did have other passions at school. I loved technical drawing. I was always designing houses and that kind of thing, because I was. She was
always using your visual strength anyway. You're quite a visual person anyway.
So I might have gone down. I might have carried on doing my plastering and took on the business with my brother and built up a plastering business, or I could have taken more with the technical drawing side and become a surveyor or something like that. I would because I loved maths as well. I think I probably would have gone back and done more maths and maybe become a structural engineer or something like that. So I think I would have done other things.
Yeah, you wouldn't have given up. You'd have still gone on.
Oh yeah.
You're a forward-driven person. That's it.
Yes. I wouldn't have been just content.
And who taught you that? Would you say, mum or dad? How did you learn that? that sort of wanting to keep moving forward? Or was it just something you picked up yourself, do you think?
I think it was just something in me. I was just naturally driven. I'm a very highly self-motivated person. And when I want to do something, I want to do it well, and I've always been like that. But more importantly, if somebody told me that I couldn't do it,
You want to do it even more?
I would want to do it just to piss them off, just to prove
Just to
them
go,
wrong.
yeah.
Just to prove. I think, well, you say I can't do it, but I think I can do it, and I'm going to show you that I can do it. And so
Sometimes that drove you.
kind of reverse psychology. I know people it says
Yeah.
that it works, but for me it definitely did
does.
work. And if
Some
somebody
people it
tells me I
does,
can't do
and some people it don't.
Yeah.
My dad was like that. You tell my dad he couldn't do anything, he'd want to do it more.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I was very much like that. Very much.
So, in terms of mental health, do you think skiing's good for people's mental health? People to get into an hobby?
I think any kind of sport, if they find a sport that they really enjoy, even better. But if they just go out and do something, whether it's just go for a walk, go for a jog, do exercise like Zumba or something, go skiing, whatever you're interested in, get out there. I think it's just being active.
Have you ever had any mental health?
Those endorphins release, and it gives you a good feel-good factor, and
Yeah.
it's great.
Have you had any mental health things over the years, like depression or things throughout times of your life? Or
I don't.
not really?
I think the only time I suffered what I think might have been slight depression was when I separated and divorced. I think that, but my dancing really helped. I got back into my dancing. Yeah,
what do you do, Ed?
I do modern jive called Ciroc,
Okay.
and I used to do it 20 odd years ago. But then when I got divorced, or when I got separated, I went back to dancing, and I then started dancing, and that really, really helped because you had to lead. I had to think constantly of the next move, so I didn't think about the divorce, about separation and all that. So it kind of gave me something else to think about.
Sort of pattern broke you from your thoughts. That's good.
And it was physical as well, the exercise. So that really, really helped. And
you still do it now, Ed?
Yeah, I still love at the moment it's a bit difficult with the
pandemic.
Yeah. But I really, really love my dancing. Really love my dancing.
So what's the plans for the future? Anything? Have you got anything lined up?
I don't know. There's so many things I want to do. It's difficult to kind of narrow it down, and I'm going to stick with this because I still love traveling the world and doing my talks and talk about my life as I skiing and the movie and things like that. And I'll always enjoy doing that. But I still love my plastering and building. I'm renovating a house, and I've got permission to build 2 new houses. I might do those myself.
Fantastic.
So that'll give me something to do.
Yeah.
I love my dancing. I want to do much more. I might even take my teaching qualification and teach dancing.
Wow.
I still love my skiing. So yeah, there's loads
You're
of
so
things
active. You go all the time.
Yeah.
And I think this is a lot of people with my clients through my therapy. A lot of people will come to me and they tell you what they don't want. I go to a client like, so what do you want from today? And they'll tell me what they don't want. I go, well, I don't want to have anxiety. I don't want to feel like this no more, Rob. And I don't want this to affect my life. I go, I never asked you what you don't want. I asked you what you wanted. Why are you telling me? And they look at me, what do you mean? I go, well, pivot that. Tell me what you want. And sometimes they look at me as if like, I don't understand the question. Like they're so away from facing the right direction that they get stuck in focusing on their problems, how bad their life's been, focus on this long emotional experience saying happened to them 10 years ago. And people forget that you have got to face forward. If you if you can't walk forward looking backwards, you walk into a fucking wall or something. You know what I mean? So you've got to at least know where you're going. You've got to have something to walk forward.
Right.
So.
That's right. And that's the worst thing, really. I mean, it's not such a negative, but for me, I don't mind doing my talks at things like conferences, dinners, lunches, that kind of thing. But what I don't want to do is in a social situation, if I'm out with mates down a pub, I don't want to talk about my life.
No.
Because I talk about it all the
time.
That's right.
It's like your job now.
But it's also for me, I'm always talking about the past, and I want to keep going forward. That happened 30 years ago. I want to carry on doing something.
I love it.
It's sometimes
and that is the trick.
That
is the trick to life. Like I'm a friend with Jimmy Bullard, the footballer, and he's the same. He said like it weren't till he's on Soccer AM now. And he said it weren't till I think last year or something they started showing him moments of his career. And he said, Rob, I didn't even look back. He said, I looked back and I thought, no, I've done good. Like he said, I didn't even realise all the things I've done. He said, I looked back when they showed me, I thought, well, I was right proud of myself. He said, but I'm so busy looking forward to renovating the pub. Now he's into his gardening and things, and and I think that is what you find between the mindset behind successful people in what they want to do in their life. And that ain't mean financially, that means in that passion, it's something that you want. It could be a car, it could be being a skier, it could be, I don't know, riding horses, whatever. But, you always find that they've got that vision, they see the outcome,
Yeah.
They experience it loads of times in their mind with their emotions, and it makes it happen.
Yeah.
It just makes it happen.
Yeah.
Because there's a part of the brain called the reticular activating system, which is a group of neurons at the bottom of the brain, works as a filtering system. Now, this is the part of the brain that, the oldest proverb of all time is what you focus on, you become. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's in deep sea scrolls. It's in every Egyptian pyramids. You're going to find something along those lines of that saying. Yeah. So when you focus on you want to get a new car. Everywhere you go, you see that car. Or you have a baby and your missus is pregnant. All you do is see babies everywhere.
Yeah.
And your mum starts noticing her friends' granddaughters and things like that. Everywhere you go, it's babies. And it's probably you with skiing. You'd have noticed more things about skiing and ski slopes than anyone because your focus was on it.
Oh, yes.
But this part of the brain also works for what you don't want. So more people keep saying they've got anxiety. I have anxiety. It's only been discovered about 6-7 years ago. It's science, it's fact, that when you keep saying that to yourself and talking about your problem, that it will scan every piece of data a second from the minute you wake up till you go to sleep to prove to you have anxiety. It looks for the evidence for you. So you've got to put yourself on the vision of where you want to be. If you're overweight, you've got to be visualizing yourself thin, not keep saying I want to lose weight.
Yeah.
If I want to lose weight, I don't want to be fat no more. That ain't going to help you. You've got to visualize being thin. You've got to visualize the outcome you want, and you've got to talk as if like I am a size. If it's a girl, I am a size 10. If she's a size 18, even though she knows she ain't, that's the language you've got to talk, because the unconscious mind. The filter itself doesn't have a filter, if that makes sense. It filters information for us, what we focus on, but when we talk to it, it doesn't know what you want or what you don't want. It just knows what your predominant thought is where you're interested in. So we're going to start looking, we look for your awareness, So like you can walk in someone's house, and I walk in someone's house, and I wouldn't notice a skiing picture. If it's a boxing picture, I was brought up on boxing myself, and I just love boxing. If it was an old boxer, I'd probably I'd notice the picture straight away, where you'd walk in and see the skier, go, oh, is that so-and-so from... But I wouldn't even my brain would delete it, because your brain, the filter allows us to distort information, generalize information, and distort, delete, and generalize. Yeah, that's what we have to do. We have to do that because our conscious mind can only run 7 pieces a day a second. 7. So then it's got to filter this information. And by if you was looking at me now and you was taking every piece of data, you didn't have a filter, you'd be looking at every single leaf on that tree, every mark on that fence, everything on my face. If you try and take in all that information at once, your brain has melted down, you know?
That's right.
So you need a filter. And so people should, I believe, I wish people, everyone listening at home should just Google the reticular activating system. It should be, you could do a reticular activating system therapy, because it's science. This ain't like it works for some people. It's science. It's fact. It works in every brain the same. What you focus on, you become, and you've got to learn. When you understand what you focus on, you become. People should be very aware of what they will. I think it makes you aware of what actually thoughts you allow into your mind in the end. Just if people start understanding the RAS system, it will stop them from putting the bad thoughts in the head, because they'll think, hang on, I don't want to do that. I know where that's going to take me.
Yeah.
So it's about facing that right direction. So when I see your movie, and I just see your determination and focus and that drive and passion for it, I had to get in touch with you, Ed. I had to come and see you, do you know what I mean? Because I was thinking, you probably didn't like yourself, but that filter kicks in, and everywhere you go, you'd have seen yourself doing this, being a better skier than what you actually was, being a better skier, and then what happens is it starts to go and show you the skills and find you the people and do the things for you to get there. Yeah. And you don't care, you get a pulling feeling.
Because I used to watch, study what they're doing, how they're doing it, and then copy.
I remember you saying that when I was a kid. When I used to start boxing, I was about 11 years old. I remember watching the older kids doing the flash skipping, and I'd be indoors at night visualising the footwork. In my head, I could see it, and that's how I used to remember even being 11, trying to skip, and I could visualise the foots in my head, and that's how I learned to do it. Like the little flash bit of foot movement. But everything gets made twice, as they say. So. How about the kids? Do they ski or anything?
Well, I don't see much of the kids at the moment. They're teenagers.
So
they just want to get out there. And,
with their mates,
do things.
up the ski slopes, or up with the football thing, whatever they want to do.
But I did I got them to ski when they were quite young, 4 and 6, and they learnt down when we went down on a holiday to Weymouth, and I brought them here for a couple of lessons. So they can ski, but I only bring them if they ask to go
Yeah,
skiing.
you
If
don't
they say,
wanna
Daddy,
push
can
it
we
on
go
them.
skiing? I'm happy to take them, but I'm not going to force it on them.
Yeah.
So they've got to want to do it. But at the moment, in a way, I'm relieved that they don't, because it would cost me an absolute fortune in equipment and take them on skiing every year. So it's saving me a lot of money. And it's one of those things that they might dip in and out of. So in another year or two, they might come back and say, can we go skiing? And I'll be quite happy to take them. But I'm not going to force it on them.
Yes, that's important.
So,
Let them find their own sort of little dream.
I just say, look, do what you want to do. I'll be quite happy with whatever you want to do, wherever you want to go. Just go out and do it. It doesn't matter if you fail all your exams, because exams aren't anything. I'm more interested in your EQ rather than your IQ. Just get out there and
I like
do
that.
it. Yeah. So,
I like that, Ed, the EQ. So, what would you advise people at home now? Anyone listening that's, as we're the MindKite Podcast, I'm sort of studying the mindset of greatness. Yeah. So there's the first recording we've done at the beginning of the podcast. You're going to hear me explain about the RAS system in detail. So anyone listening, if you're just listening to this for the first time, go back and listen to the learnings behind the mind first, and you'll enjoy the podcast even more, because I teach them about visualizations, why it works, neuro pathways, law of vibration, and so on. And what information would you give anyone who's willing to go for a goal at the minute? What sort of information would you give anyone who's got a vision, got a goal? What would you say the trick is?
I think the biggest thing and my biggest tool was resilience. And if they've got a passion for something, if they want to be somewhere, want to do something, they've just got to not give up and have as much resilience as possible. That's the key. And just no matter how many people tell you it can't be done, you can't do it, if you think you can do it, you go for it. Stick to it, go for it. And you can achieve great things. Look at me.
Yes.
I didn't win a gold medal, but people still remember me.
And it's the same with Johnny Nelson. I done a talk with Johnny Nelson before, and he was saying when he started boxing, he said, I was so bad, Rob. He said, people will go, I'll be sparring and be going, God, look how shit he is. He's terrible. And he went, not behind me back, to me face. I'll be standing there. He said I was terrible, right? And he went,
thank you.
Yeah. And he said, Brendan Ingle, he said, I started boxing at 14. He said, I was so bad. Most kids fight in 6 months. I was 17 before he let me fight. Yeah. And he ended up being a world champion. Do you know what I mean? But his determination, like yourself.
That's it.
But he had, I think Brendan helped him coach him with a mindset.
Yeah.
Get rid of your self-doubts and stuff. How about yourself, Ed? Did you have any sort of mental coaching, or was it just all through yourself?
No, I don't think I ever did. I used to chat to people, chat to coaches and other athletes and things like that, and pick up things, but I never actually. Back then, it wasn't so much of a thing, Now it's normal. It's just as important as physical.
Just the physical,
stuff, your mental attitude. But back then, we didn't have a mental coach. I think some of the other teams did have psychologists, sports psychologists, but I was a one-man band.
Yeah,
I was on my own. So I think it's just things I learned as I went along, really. And I was doing things that I didn't realise that I was doing them, like the visualisations.
You was doing it anyway.
That was just, for me, that was a standard technique. Of course I would visualise doing it. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah. This is the thing. I met a windsurfer once, and I went to him. Now people don't understand visualisation. They go, "What are you on about visualising? What? Holiday, money? What are you talking about?" You know what I mean? People that don't, they're doing the same thing. They live in that pattern. The same thought process every day. They don't understand it. And I met this windsurfer once. He was 6-time world champion at a wedding, Aussie geezer. I went, "Do you ever use any visualisations?" They don't know me or anything, obviously, but he went, well, of course I do. And the way he said it is like, of course, just like you said. Well, why wouldn't you? Yeah. I mean, I couldn't even understand the question. And I went, he went, it's the first time I heard this saying, if you can't see it, you can't be it. He went, I don't surf no more. I'll teach kids back at Oz. And I'll say to them, if you can't see yourself winning this today, you might as well fuck off home, because someone else has already won it in their head, and they're going to be taking home that trophy. Do you know what I mean? And it's the same again. Jamie O'Hara, he never knew what he was doing with visualisations when I spoke to him. And he said people used to go to him, how'd you become a Premiership player? And he went, I ain't being flash. I just see myself playing for Tottenham and Premier play, and I played for Premiership teams and played for Tottenham. And that's when people think I'm being flash, but that's all I can say. I don't know what else to tell them. But
for me, it was even hard because I skied and ski jumped. I couldn't live next to a ski jump. I had to visualise it because I'm not there.
Not there.
And I couldn't get there as much as I couldn't.
So you had to practice in your mind as well.
Yeah.
The new studies on that reticular activating system prove that by visualizations, we create skills.
Yeah.
It's actually proven that, yeah?
Yeah.
So everyone please, check out the reticular activating system. We actually can develop the skills to do it.
Yeah.
Just by visualising it. And they took people with pianos and they taught them how to play a scale or something. One person practiced on the piano, one had to practice in their head.
Yeah.
And they both was, after the week, they're both, able to do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's amazing that everything gets made twice. First inside the mind as a thought, then out here in the reality of things. So, what's next for Eddie the Eagle though?
Well, God, there's so many things I like to do. There's so many things I want to do. I think my flexibility at the moment is my strength in that I still love dabbling in my plastering and my building work, so I'm going to carry on doing a bit of that. And I'm trying to decide whether to build these 2 houses on my front lawn or not, or sell the whole lot and then let somebody else do it. I still love my skiing, and I want to ski. I'm going to be skiing on my 100th birthday. I'm determined. I'm going to be skiing the Harry Carry, which is a black run in Mayhofen, on my 100th birthday.
Is that it? Is that the vision?
Yeah.
I love that. I'm going to be watching that one.
Ski jumping on my 100th birthday. And my dancing, I love my dancing, so I want to do more with that.
How was it like growing up around in Gloucestershire? What was it like back?
I loved it. Cheltenham is great. It's quite an affluent town. It's a very beautiful town, spa town. It had everything. I loved living quite close to the centre because everything was on my doorstep. If I wanted to go shopping, I could walk. If I wanted to go to the gym, I could walk. I didn't need a car. I could do everything. It was wonderful. I loved my, growing up there. We used to walk to junior school. Then I walked all the way up to senior school, which is like 3-mile walk. But I did that every day, twice a day. I loved my childhood. I loved being at school. I loved.
So when you first left Gloucestershire and you started travelling to like, Europe and that, and
went to Canada as well. America,
what was that like when you first went there? I bet that was a.
Initially, it was a bit scary because when I flew to go to America to carry on my racing, I flew to New York or Newark and went into New York City, and I had to stay overnight at Port Authority bus terminal in New York City. It was in the middle of December. It was cold, snowing, and there was all the down and outs, all the druggies came into Port Authority bus terminal to keep warm. And there I was with my skis and bags, and I was huddled in the corner overnight trying to stay awake. No. And there were police patrols with dogs and all that kind of thing. And I thought, oh my God. And then I caught the Greyhound bus for the 8-hour drive up to Lake Placid. So when I first got there, I thought, oh my God, what have I done? But once I got to Lake Placid, it was wonderful. Beautiful. I loved it. Met so many lovely people.
Are the runs different out there? Because some people say they're a bit.
On the East Coast, the snow tends to be quite hard and icy,
yep.
Whereas over on the West Coast, California, Colorado, much colder. The snow is much more powdery, fluffy. So they got that lovely champagne powder, whereas on the East Coast, it's more.
So California, what's that? Bear Mountain, is it? Is that right?
Oh, there's loads of places you can go. There's like little hills you can go skiing in California. I skied at places like Sugar Bush. You can ski Utah as well. There's Lake Tahoe, all those sort of areas.
I love California, didn't you? Great. I love it. Do you know, I think about California from that main city like of LA. You've got the best beaches in the world. You go north, you've got the desert. You go northeast, and you've got like skiing. Yeah. And you go to the left towards the west, over to you got all the vineyards and the greenery. It's like they've got everything within 2 hours. You can be in any sort of surrounding.
I like the idea where you can go skiing in the morning and then go sit on the beach in the afternoon. I thought, wow,
this is amazing.
Perfect.
So it was. Let's have some name dropping, Ed. Come on, who's some of the biggest names you've met in America?
I did the Johnny Carson show.
Oh, amazing.
During the Olympics. So I met Burt Reynolds. He was the loveliest guy. I sat with him for about 5 hours in the green room before we did the show. And he gave me his number of his ranch in Florida. And he said, oh, come over and stay with me in my ranch and stuff. And he was a lovely guy, really nice.
Reynolds, blinder.
And I met, obviously, Hugh Jackman for the film, and Taron, and all those guys. Loads and loads of film, TV, music. I presented or co-presented one of the Top of the Pops things. I had to present a radio, one of the songs on Top of the Pops. So I met people like the Bee Gees and some of those people. And
legends.
Loads of them.
Legends, mate.
Yeah, they were great.
The Bee Gees, eh?
So I'm just from Cheltenham, and I met all these people. It was really, really good.
And what was Beverly Hills like back then? Because I remember I'd love to have gone to America when I was a kid.
of course, you go up to the Hollywood sign and do all that kind of thing.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Done all that, and yeah, I've been over to LA quite a few times, either for meetings and for events, for television, like the Johnny Carson show and stuff. I co-presented a radio program for Sacramento for a radio station, and then we went skiing up in a place, I think it was called Sugarbush. Or Sugarloaf or something like that. Brilliant, loved it. So I've travelled quite a bit. It's been great fun. I've had some great times.
Love it. So who's your idol? If you had an idol growing up, who would it be? What would have been your sort of idol growing up? Would have been an actor, musician? What was like your?
I think it was obviously Ingemar Stenmark. He was my idol. Ingemar Stenmark, skier from Sweden.
Okay.
He won everything. He dominated the sport back in the day, and I used to watch Ski Sunday religiously. And there was Ingemar Stenmark, and then there was Phil and Steve Mayer, the Mayer brothers. They used to compete against him, and Bojan Križaj. But Ingemar Stenmark was the perfect skier. Amazing. And I met him in Rome. I was doing a charity golf event, and he's so quiet, so unassuming, but lovely guy. And I said, I worshipped him when I was a boy. It was so nice to meet him. So nice. But
talking about all the good things you've done, on the flip coin, I mean, in the movie, you crashed and broke lots of bones on one of them.
God,
I mean, there was some. It ain't all fun and joy, is it?
No. In fact, they didn't put my worst accident. Worst accident was a broken neck and back when I was skiing. Yeah, I was working in Italy, and I raced the local race champion, and we collided towards the bottom, and I hit him and hit a tree. And I wasn't wearing a helmet, and I broke my neck and back. And I was in.
Was that scared you were going to walk again? Was it that sort of thing?
Initially, yes, because I couldn't feel very much. I trapped a nerve which paralysed one side of my body. I thought, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to ski. How am I going to be able to ski on one side? Maybe I can ski on one leg or something like that. But then when they put me in traction, then the nerves untrapped. I got all my feeling back. And then about 3 months later, I was back skiing. Even though I had a neck and back brace and things, I was still skiing on the nursery slopes going around. And then gradually I got better and better and carried on. And then I thought, it was just a mistake. I won't make the same mistake again. Now, when I ski, I'm very conscious of people skiing near me. And the faster I go, I want more room.
Because it is a dangerous sport. People don't realise it is just. Right. I mean, didn't Sonny Bono die on the skiing? Didn't he?
But it's just people's lack of awareness. You know, when I'm skiing, I try and keep the faster I go, I want to try and keep away from everybody.
Yes.
I want to be nice and I don't want to be skiing next to somebody.
No.
You know, if somebody's going down at 2 miles an hour, they're nervous. I don't want to be skiing past their left ear at 90 miles an hour. It'll scare the crap out of them. Yeah. So I try and keep a nice wide berth, but people don't have the same thing, and they want to ski
I do think
as fast
sometimes
as they can, and they have no thought of what is happening around them.
Sometimes I think they let people go on them runs out in France too soon.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They just get to I hit a lady once. I'm not a great skier, I'm useless, but I was going down like a blue run, I mean, maybe even a green run. It was a lovely, like, mile-long one. It was beautiful scenery through the woods. And as I turned, there was this woman there coming towards me. I didn't know it was a woman, couldn't tell, but as she sort of turned, I thought she was going to move. And she actually turned in towards me last minute, and I've hit her. I'm quite a big fella. I've knocked her flying. I've gone spinning off. I thought I was stood up a little bit, hit the penny, went back. She was about like 60 years old. I've smashed off late 50s, 60s. Smashed her. Mum, the geezer's going. I'm thinking, what? Why they shouldn't have let her on the road? Like, I wasn't a great skier, so she was really unaware how to do anything. And I thought, it's dangerous. She could have took me out of the game. I could have snapped me myself. And
See, I don't ski with a helmet, and yet everybody now skis with a helmet.
Do you not ski now?
But I never ski with a helmet. But I do get worried that when I'm skiing, if somebody comes down behind me, loses control, hits me, they're wearing a helmet, they're going to kill me. You know, but I think with skiing, 90%, 95% of people think they're far better than they actually are.
Yeah.
And also, it's just that I don't know if it's that they're rude. They're just not aware of what they're doing. And you know, by all means, if you ski, but be aware of everything that's happening around you and other skiers and things. And they just don't. And you know, just whoosh, 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 and crash, and that's awful. So I only hit one person when I was in Italy when I was about 17, and it was the same thing. We were skiing like this, and we skied across, and then couldn't avoid each other, we hit each other, and that was the only time I've hit somebody skiing. And I think I'm never going to let that happen again. And I didn't. So, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Be awareness, the full awareness.
Total awareness of where you are. What you're doing, where you are, people around you, be aware. Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for coming on to the MindKite podcast, Ed.
Thank you.
It's absolutely amazing and a pleasure to have you here.
It didn't hurt at all.
And better than them crashes, eh? Better than crashes. Yeah. Thank you, everyone at home, for listening to the MindKite podcast with me and the legend Eddie the Eagle. And thank you very much. And tune in to MindKite podcast next week and download the app. See you soon.